We are just waiting a minute for a start of the stream, and it's now, so we can begin.
So we can begin. Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to welcome the panelists. Thank you for accepting the invitation and for coming. I also welcome all participants, both those who are here and in the European Parliament and those who are listening to us online. Road safety has always been a concern for me because in my country, in Poland, we still have a lot to do in this area. Thanks to the efforts of current government, we have already taken a huge step towards improving road safety, but we are still on the one of the member states with the highest fatality rate. That is why I decided to get involved in the ECR Group's shadow rapporteur on the resolution on the EU Road Safety Policy Framework 2021-2030, recommendations on the next steps toward Vision Zero, which has adopted by the EP on 6th of October 2021. And at that time, I tabled an amendment calling on the Commission to develop standards for information requirements on the safety performance of child restraint systems. To my great surprise and bitter disappointment, this proposal was met with ignorance from the other political groups, and it was only after long and difficult negotiations that we managed to get this paragraph into the document. The aim of Vision Zero is to reduce the number of deaths on EU roads to zero by 2050. This is a very ambitious goal, and achieving it requires extraordinary measures and actions. Our guiding principle in drafting the report was that any idea that can make at least a small contribution to reducing the number of fatalities deserves to be considered. I am therefore astonished by the EP's resistance to regulating information standards relating on the safety parameters of child seats. Another disappointment was the European Commission's reaction to the resolution. In March, I sent an official question to the Commission asking whether it shared Parliament's position on information standards for restraint systems. Although more than 7 months have passed since the report was adopted, according to the Commission's response, the recommendation has not yet been forwarded to the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, which is responsible for the regulatory process. The Consumer Rights Directive obliges manufacturers to provide clear information on products. In the meantime, there are devices on the market which are at the limit of acceptability, and parents are unable to identify them. Manufacturers are not legally obliged to make the results of safety tests available, and the approval authorities in the member states are not authorized to make them available due to the lack of a proper legal basis. The main victims of this legal loophole are children and their parents, who cannot make an informed decision on the best restraints for their children. In response to my question, the European Commission noted that some consumer organizations are already providing end users with information about safety parameters which go beyond the minimum requirements for CRS approval. I would like to stress firmly, this is not enough. On an issue as important as child safety, we cannot rely on the goodwill of consumer organizations. We must provide comprehensive information on all restraint systems available on the market so that consumers can compare them. Only then will parents and carriers be able to choose the safest device for they can afford. I am pleased that the long battle during the work on the report has ended with our success, but at the same time, I am dismayed that it was so difficult to convince other political groups of the need to regulate this fundamental issue. After all, raising public awareness is our ally in the fight for security, and by preventing access to such key data, we are certainly not contributing to its growth. I do not agree with the situation in which the interests of producers are more important than the lives of the children. Children are the most vulnerable road users, and it is our common duty to ensure maximum safety for them. This concerns not only parents, but also manufacturers and interested parties. However, I'm hoping for a fruitful discussion, which will give the ideas on what more we can do to motivate the European Commission to quickly establish transparency on the results of the child restraint safety test. I look forward to your presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished MEP Złotowski, for this amazing opening speech and a comprehensive overview of the current situation on the market for child restraint devices. My name is Kamila Sotomska, and I will have the pleasure to moderate the rest of our discussion. I would like to welcome our distinguished speakers. So, of course, MEP Kosma Złotowski, hello, and thank you very much for having us. Katarzyna Kurek, Consumers Forum Foundation, good morning. Jenny Carson, European Transport Safety Council, good morning. Agata Butanos, European Enterprise Alliance. Bartłomiej Witucki, Attorney at Law at Witucki and Safian. And Łukasz Zboralski, Road Safety Journalist, Editor-in-Chief in BRD24.pl. Hello. So, MEP Złotowski's speech has already beautifully set the scene for today's discussion. Today we are meeting on a very special occasion, that is the International Children's Day, which is also very much celebrated in Poland, where some of us come from. And I think everyone can agree that there's no better gift that we can give to children than safety. Safety, as it was children, as it was already pointed out, are the most vulnerable road users. And even though currently, when we're thinking about road safety and of safety of children, child restraint devices are probably not the first thing that comes to our mind. Of course, as consumers, as users, we assume that everything that is being put on the market and made available to the consumers is of equal value and of equal safety. Unfortunately, as we will see today, this is not the case. And we have met here today in the auspices of the European Parliament, again, physically after a very long time. So we thank you again for our lovely hosts for having us to discuss what we can do further in this regard. Hence, I would like to give the floor to Katarzyna Kurek, European Consumers Foundation, who will tell us more about the subject.
Hello, everybody. Good day, good morning, or good afternoon to whoever has connected online. Thank you so much, Mr. MEP Złotowski, for having me and for letting me start this debate with a lot of hopes. Thank you so much, Ms. Sotomska, for introducing the topic. As I said, I'm first to open the discussion, and one saying my affiliation can say what a consumer forum is doing, discussing children on the 1st of June in the European Parliament. I feel legitimate to pick up on this topic since there is a lot of links to children and to consumers together. I have prepared a couple of slides, which some of them will be introductory to the children's safety. And I also see already that the honorable company of this panelist will definitely follow with their expertise. And I'm actually very honored to be invited in this honorable group of colleagues working in the safety topics. Since I don't control the slides, I will be making strange face expressions to the colleague that is changing them. Just a very short word about Consumers Forum. I have arrived from Poland. We are Warsaw-based organization, independent organization representing consumers as a group, not individual cases, or not yet individual cases. One of our main activity is systematic monitoring and testing of selected product categories and then giving opinion or advice to the policymakers. The next slide will show a selection of completed projects where we actually participated in the product safety research and advisory. Our principal focus on the standards and information transparency focus. Is it something that the consumer actually needs? Yes, indeed, because my opening speech says consumer is a part of the fifth estate. We know that fourth estate is a media, but it expands to the fifth estate, which actually got very much triggered by the COVID situation and all our activities being moved online. So the online world has actually opened, has empowered a lot of people for independent opinion, reorganized advisory market. People have blogs, forums. Everyone who is a consumer is now also an opinionated consumer. So the fifth state is actually something that here I have this nice graphics, which is showing actually the pressure of citizens and consumers, which is growing against the institutions and business organizations, which is actually reducing since some time. And of course, the COVID situation, the e-commerce, the e-information has opened more world of information. Just one word why I feel entitled to be part of this great discussion about children and safety and also transportation, coming from a consumer forum. We have last few years we have conducted we've been part or we have initiated a series of projects related to responsible consumption, to safety, for cashless translation, the transport, the preferences, application and safety or product safety. We have a website that would be difficult not to be a website aspiring to be part of that fifth estate, but we're also active on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, so people can approach us. So we are not close. We welcome every debate. Very brief introduction, since I'm the first speaker. So what is a CRS, the Child Restraint System? So that stands in the title of this meeting. It's a device capable of accommodating a child occupant in a sitting or supine position, so laying or sitting. You have a picture here which is showing 4 main types of the CR device, which can be infant seats, child seats, belts, or booster seats. And according to the age of the growing of the child, the device is being changed. The older device also makes a certain evolution from a very compact for an infant to a safety belt, which is already used for a little bit older children. The popularity of the devices is actually very large because they are part of the cars infrastructure, but also all the CRS systems are necessary for other vehicles. So I'm talking about buses, coaches. I'm talking also about planes. but also for unconventional vehicles, like for instance, maybe some lorries or something four-wheel that transports a child. They require special clips, special fitting system, which is ISOFIX or iSize, the recent recommendation. Who is deciding about which device goes into the market and who's devising what type of fitting it needs is the United Nations special group, with a special group, World Forum of Harmonization of Vehicle Regulations, WP29. They are in charge of the technicalities, but also of issuing laws that follow our use of these devices. However, the basic regulations which allow for the products to be sold and then to be used is the United Nations Regulation 4404 and the latest one, which is an amendment 129. Both exist, so one doesn't cancel, and another one, they are complementary. And only devices which follow, which have passed these requirements are allowed to be sold. And I want to mention globally. So this is not a European Union case, but today we're going to talk about something that we hope to move further EU borders. A part of the United Nations laws, we have a dedicated European Commission directive, which has a significant part of the CRS, how to use, what to use, and it of course refers to the UN regulations. The national homologation authorities are responsible for confirming which device is allowed, which device has passed these two regulations, and they give that homologation sticker or the homologation document. That's of course very much in brief. I've skipped all the technicalities and very complicated laws, but I just want to make a little bit of a layman introduction. What is this problem? Why I call it a problem? Of course, it does solve a problem because we have a device to put our children that is already reducing certain overload or certain crash pressure. But why is it a problem? Because the child restraint system is not just a tool that we put into a vehicle and we have the safety resolved. It is a blend of consumers and product safety and road safety policy effect. Why we talk about it today, I believe, by kind invitation of MAP Złotowski, is the topic has come to the EU agenda very much triggered by the principles of the French presidency, which is currently running. The focus on the general product safety directives, the regulations of product safety, which imply consumers' empowerment. So as a consumers organization, we believe that we got this space now allowed by the French presidency to actually express what is bothering us. All the principles which affect the CRS problem is the infrastructure that consumers needs for trust and innovation in a digital and sustainable world. I am quoting that from the text of the objectives of French presidency. That's not it. We have a new consumer agenda, which in 2 points, point number 3 and point number 4, gives specific recommendations to the safety of the products, that products have to be maximum, the procedures have to allow maximum safety, the not safety products have to be withdrawn from the EU market. And I have also quoted the Commission will also support initiative providing local on how to access information offline and online, which is expanding the consumer's empowerment, right? Because we will be able to know what exactly we have in our baskets or what do we use. The children restraint systems is also very much important if we look only, because that was a reference to the consumer's legal background, but from the road safety perspective, children are the most harmed passengers in the road transportation, sadly. regarding the directives to use CRS and all the safety infrastructure. We have already also the cars which are actually speeding in the competition for safety gadgets. Still, children are the most endangered. And even EU accident reports, they annually report that actually children are affected, including fatalities, also the most in the road accidents. As I said, Vision Zero has to go beyond EU borders, and it actually does. There are lots of international initiatives, already programs, which are improving the safety of children, and they are dedicated Vision Zero programs in US, but also in countries like Africa or India or China, which I didn't mention that, which we all know that China is the main producer of the CRS devices. So it's actually very relevant. Still, where the problem is rooted, the recently issued Safety Gate report of the European Commission shows that the most dangerous non-food products are vehicles and toys. They top the list, and it is explained, or it's been found that it's because of the lack of complete information for easy detection and removal of unsafe products from shelves online and shelves offline. If this is not the end, the problem in the children and road safety is actually widely discussed. Even the latest European Consumer Summit, which happened, if I'm not mistaken, like a month ago, underlines that actually child on the road is a blend is a consumer, but also a vulnerable road user. So it's been recognized. This is not my invention to fit this term to the program of my speech, but this is already even in the directives, which I'm mentioning in my presentation. So we have feeling the mandate from our main activities and actually seeing the principles and the product safety, which is the topic of children. We as a consumer forum, we have decided to launch a European initiative for children's safety in transportation. We have made a special website which is actually informing about this problem, about lack of information, or not even lack, because they exist, how I will be saying, but the lack of accessing information, and also the importance of the CRS. We have a dedicated website in 4 languages. We also have started the We Move campaign. We are collecting 100 signatures very regularly, so people get familiarized with the problem. We have put our input to the Have Your Say initiatives already issued by the refits of the either legal initiatives or the advisory to the refits of existing directives. Aim of this European initiative for children's safety in transportation is to raise an awareness, because talking to consumers, talking also to our associate parties, we are coming to a very thriving conclusion that people do not know that they don't know. So they just don't know that this problem exists, and they blame drivers or they think this is solved somewhere in the very complicated technical road safety laws, which is not. This initiative is gratefully acknowledged by authorities, and since we've started in Poland, we were able to make it legitimate and valid for Polish transport and infrastructure authorities, which I'm actually very, very grateful for the kindness in understanding the problem and for upfronting the situation. So like technical transport surveillance is a homologation authority in Poland, and they acknowledge our initiative and support it. We also get positive recommendations from the National Road Safety Council and from the Ministry of Infrastructure in Poland. What we are about in coming few weeks is a national information campaign about the CRS problem. Yes, so as I said, I'm still referring to the fifth estate as a consumer, and here I put, of course, I put this comparison between internet, which is enabling the fifth estate, and maybe classical approach as consumer platform. And the problem, of course, like we should be grateful to internet, right? The abundance of information, the abundance of choices, immediate connection, immediate comparison. This is absolutely unquestionable, and it works in super benefit of the consumers. But it also has a negative impact, negative side, and that is this speaker's corner. This is a picture from a Hyde Park from London. There is a speaker corner when everybody can come and make their opinion, and their opinion becomes equally valid. So everybody is found to be equal and legitimate opinion. Is it really true in internet? This is actually the question which I'm setting. Internet is full of opinion, and especially about products, and especially after the COVID situation, when the e-commerce and e-information absolutely took over the everyday existence. So as an open platform, the internet is allowing an exchange of information, but it also comes with certain pitfalls. So when it comes to consumers and to product assessment, this is actually losing their transparency, because we have anonymous opinions, first of all, a lot of fake accounts, a lot of paid advertisement, PR activities, randomness of opinion, and upcoming and getting more and more popular, the artificial intelligence and algorithms, which are actually shaping immediately our opinion, which are not allowing us to see other opinion in internet that we could have seen. So that makes an impact on the so-called in the consumer world, the ROPO effect, or research online, purchase of offline effect. Very important thing, since we research whatever we want to buy, any product we want to buy, we usually have a look in internet, and then we follow with the offline purchase. That is immediately, so the pitfalls of internet, ranking blogs, paid opinions, or unfair opinions, or limited information is actually immediately affecting and influencing consumer decision. Also, the authority of expert reviews have significantly weakened, right? The consumer doesn't want to spend time researching, I'm not even mentioning scientific research, but also specialized press. Like, this is too difficult. This is too time consuming. You just put it, you usually have Google even reviews. Google is already giving reviews for any products that we want to see. And that's easier for us, that is quicker. But this is not just my opinion. European Union is aware of that. And for instance, programs from the long life learning programs, they support the big research and conferences and meetings actually to work to develop tools to defend from this internet delusion in consumers' situation. The consumer platform are directly impacted, as I said, because people will not go to consumer platform checking for opinion, but they will just see Google reviews. And even though as a consumer organization, me discussing some product safety, I will also have a look in the Google reviews, because I want to see the Vox Populi. I want to see what people say about the product. So we need a merit approach to product assessment. We cannot let this advertisement, the marketing, right? That pitfalls, they come to marketing because it's usually paid services to increase or decrease popularity of certain product. So the consumer platform should base in repeatable and transparent methodologies. But who is to do these methodologies? It's either institutions like EU. Please, I would be so happy to have your guidelines, which are commonly discussed, or own working groups or consumer associations, which will get legally empowered to develop product assessment methodologies. Coming back to the children restraint systems, the problem arises. The problem of I will be not talking actually about the problem. There will be a panelist following with more road safety details, but this is not super safe device. And I am here showing just a brief overview of some scientific studies or institutional studies, which shows 10 years of development of the CRS devices. And they are from different locations. I put locations here. So we see European research, we see American research, but we also see, for instance, Chinese research. This is what I mentioned. China is the biggest producer, and also they have a lot of R&D there. So their opinion and their finding is actually very, very valid. What comes as a conclusion from the dedicated scientific or institutional research is usually lack of information, underperforming CRS which are functioning, failed CRS which do meet the requirements but they still fail, presence of some CRS devices which show uncomparable safety parameters at the verge of admissibility, knowledge about CRS and the choice coming from family friends instead of professional sources. So this is, and I'm showing 10 years of various research. This is not all the research that exists, but I just wanted to kind of point and highlight that throughout 10 years, actually the conclusions repeat. So this hasn't been any progress or very small progress in making all CRS devices absolutely safe. Here is another point that I want to add. It is not only market product problem, but it should be a political problem. So that's why I am very grateful for being here and having a piece of the floor in the European Parliament and trying hopefully motivate online and offline the politicians here and the European Union politicians to take care of this case, because we are talking about the children here and not allowing certain reluctancy or certain ignorance, pardon my terminology, to have still this research, that the previous research functioning and the misused or malfunctioning devices being on the market. I am showing here parliamentary questions from various members of European Parliament, from various parties, which this is very important to underline, throughout many years, which have asked the Commission about how to identify harmful child seeds, are they listed, how to withdraw them, what about infringements proceedings, specifications of safety standard information. And if you find common denominator, the European Commission answer was, because we can see these questions, these petitions from the members of the European Parliament as a people, we can see it. The common denominator in the replies were check with consumer organization, on go checking with national automobile clubs, they have a list. Well, they actually don't. And the consumer organizations will go into the trap of the Hyde Park speaking corners because they rely on Google reviews. I don't make many points to Google, of course, but I just use it because everybody knows the Google review, but lots of websites, blogs, Facebook pages, Twitter opinions, right? A lot of situation is happening like that. So not having methodology for these consumer organizations which specialized in individual cases of product assessment, because they are plenty like that, and it's perfect that they exist, but they do own research, or usually they base on information from internet. Also, references to national automobile clubs are just failing here because they have no rights to show, they have no legal background to show, this is what already Mrs. Złotowski mentioned, they have no legal background to make the tests, the results of the safety test available. So then imply certain suing. Some companies can get upset. No, nobody wants that, right? And important here, it's what I would like to say, having the chance of being in the European Parliament, that they should become political group, independent concern. All political groups, because, children, they don't have children, they do not have political preferences, but the politicians can choose for the children. So that's why I am actually very, very happy that there is a political group that has understand that and is making and is pathing the way to the road safety. One of the last slides, again, why do we need a regulations for public accessing to the results of safety test of the children restraint systems? To very, very summarize, they are mandatory part of the cars or other road vehicles or even planes, right? But so they are mandatory, you have to have them, but you don't know what you have and you have no rights to find out. So we see this actually, this paradox, this regulation, this product safety paradox. No producers need a homologation. Authorities have any legal obligation to show the tests. When it comes to the devices certified by the regulation 4404, it's especially important to show the results of the crash tests, because throughout the process of obtaining the certificates, the devices are approved. They go under test also only from the front hit. They do not come. They do not show results from the side hits. So we see half actually. Half of the tested devices. We don't know how that devices behave in other tests. And the regulation 44 means that the basic safety requirements are met. And also maybe that's a question also to define the basics and to increase the definition of the basic. That all results that the maximum safety product competitions is being significantly cut, right? We don't know, we have no parameters available. The companies cannot compete for the safety parameters. The very last slide, I would like to refer to the paragraph 27 from the European Union Parliament about the road safety. This paragraph 27 is extremely important. It calls on the Commission to draw up standards for information requirements on the safety parameters for the child restraint system. So we are calling for the lawmaking. Let's start to have some lawmaking, not just a choice or not just a consumer opinion, not just internet people making friendly comparisons. Also, let's develop information standards for the CRS safety, which can be translatable, right? Which will be avoidable and available and will be translatable. This can happen if we develop key performance indicators, and they will be included into, for instance, happening refit of the general product safety document. So we are very much calling for that. I underlined here in the orange the second part of the 27 of the paragraph 27, which is Commission calling member states to launch awareness raising campaigns for the children's safety and the devices. I would like to underline here that Polish authorities, road safety authorities, they are already complying with paragraph 27, and I've been informed that this campaign is coming to life in about a month or two, which I'm actually very, very happy from the consumer perspective, but also for the road safety perspective. So I'm very happy that Poland is actually pathing the way here. And I would like to reverse the common saying, I ask for the authorities and whoever is hearing to support us to be from hero to zero, not from zero to hero, but from hero to zero. So from hero and changing regulations and letting us see how safe products we are buying for our children to transport them, we can get to that zero from the vision zero perspective, there can be 0 accidents with children in the CRS. So this is the final message, that children cannot do it because probably they would have already done it. So we have to do for them, and I'm a voice of a consumer, which is saying to politicians here, please mind this important regulatory gap and make the test of the CRS public. Thank you so much. Sorry for taking so much floor, but I hope I have given enough of introduction to the rest of the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katarzyna, for this, and thank you very much for the reverse saying from hero to 0. I think this is something that will definitely stay with us after this debate. And maybe just to very briefly sum up, I think Katarzyna beautifully put it that CRS is not merely a product, it is a blend of consumer product safety and road transport regulations. And before giving the floor to Ms. Jenny Carson from the European Trade Safety Council, I would like to just point out how actually concerning it is that the small progress that has been made in the last 10 years in terms of the safety of child restraint devices. But actually, when we think about this, competition is what makes products better. But since the results, the safety parameters of the CRS are not available, consumers cannot make their choice. They do not have the information available in order to push off the weaker products from the market. And when we actually think about this, as Katarzyna pointed out, this is a mandatory element of the car, just like seatbelts. But the results of the crash tests for CRS are unavailable in comparison to the cars. So when we're looking at the car market, crash test results are something that when there is a new car coming to the market, well, I'm not the biggest fan, but I know people who are extremely interested to see the new parameter, the new option, the new gimmick, and or the new engineering ways. And then the crash test results are the primary source of information, and in this case, they're lacking. So without any further ado, Jenny, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here, Mr. Zlotowski. My name is Jenny Carson. I work for the European Transport Safety Council here in Brussels. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the organization for those of you who are not familiar with us. So we are a road safety, transport safety NGO here in Brussels, and we take a very scientific approach to transport safety. We have about 50 member organizations in our organization, and we are able to call on about 200 experts from within those organizations, but also beyond, to contribute to our work. We are funded from a variety of means, including the European Commission, our member organizations, and member states. In terms of, the slide before. So we try and advance transport safety policy by running a number of projects, and here you have some of them there. You can see that we cover a lot of different topics. There's drink driving, drug driving. The LEARN project is about road safety education, and I'm going to talk a bit more about the PIN program that you can see in the top right-hand corner there, the Road Safety Performance Index program. So next slide. So the PIN program is a program that I manage at ETSC. It is a program where we look at the road safety performance of the countries, and we try and gather best practice to inspire countries to improve their road safety. So we have 32 countries in the PIN program, all the 27 member states, and then also Norway, Switzerland, the UK, Israel, and the Republic of Serbia. So what we do within the program is we publish a number of thematic reports, one of which I'm going to present to you today. And we take a different topic, a different road safety topic every year. We also have an annual report where we really look at the progress that has been made in those 32 countries in terms of reducing both the road deaths and also the number of serious injuries. And we hold events all throughout the year on different topics as well. The next slide, please. So I mentioned the reports. We publish 2 a year. I have a copy here. So today I'm going to talk about a report we actually published in 2018. We're updating it this year, but sadly it's only available in September, so I couldn't present the new results today. But this report is looking at child deaths and the situation on European roads. It's been said already, children are extremely vulnerable. Road users, they lack experience. They're not visible to many other road users because they are small. And also they lack experience. They're not aware of the risks that they might be taking on the road. So it's very important to consider them in the road safety sphere, let's say. Next slide, please. So what did we find in this report? We found that 8,100 children died on EU roads in the 10 years to 2016. Next slide. If we look at how the sort of development of child road deaths over those 10 years from 2006 to 2016, we can see that child road deaths the numbers have been decreasing more quickly than road deaths for the rest of the population. Next slide, please. We also gathered data about the road user groups that the child was part of, and we can see that it's been said already, many of them, or nearly half, were a vehicle occupant, but also a significant proportion, 30%, are pedestrians. So it's important to think of those proportions when we look at potential, measures to try and address child road deaths. Next slide, please. So what can we do to keep our children safe, bearing those proportions in mind? Obviously, we need to look at children outside the vehicle and children inside the vehicle. If we make safe roads, if we make our roads safe for children, we generally make them safe for everybody. So we really need to think about the safety of our roads. We need to think about infrastructure and how easy it is for a child to navigate the road and the system. We need to think about safe vehicles. We know that there have been many improvements in vehicle safety, both inside the car and also in terms of detection outside the car. So the vehicles themselves play a big role themselves. Child restraints, this is the reason we are here today, are a key element. It's one of the the safest passive things that you can do to keep your child safe in a vehicle, and we need to promote them and make sure that they are used properly. Enforcement, obviously, we need people, not everybody sticks to the rules of the road, and it is enforcement that ensures that they do. So enforcement is a big part of it as well. And education, not only for children in terms of road safety education for children, but also education of other road users is also important. Next slide, please. I'm only going to pick up on 2 of those points a bit further. So I mentioned this idea of infrastructure. If we make our roads safe for children, we tend to make them safe for everybody. And road infrastructure really needs to work for the people who are using it. And if you think about children, then you particularly look at schools and what is happening around schools. Can the children travel safely to school? And if you think about this, then you think about how the road is set out. If you think about the speed limits, maybe 30-kilometer zones are very important for keeping children safe around schools. So it's very important to look at that. If we look at the child restraint systems, it's been mentioned already. One of the biggest issues, I suppose, with child restraint systems is using them correctly. People use them, but they are perhaps not installed correctly. They are perhaps not the correct child restraint for the size or age of the child. So this correct installation of child restraints is something that really needs to be tackled. We also recommend rearward-facing child restraints for children as long as possible. And this installation problem that I mentioned already, it really drastically reduces the effectiveness. So we really need to focus on ensuring that. I have a table here from the report. It's very difficult to read, sorry, on this screen, but it shows this sort of child restraint usage rates in the different countries, and many of them are very high. Many of them are up to the 90%. But the thing to remember here is the question is, okay, they were using a child restraint system, but was that child restraint system correctly installed? And was it the correct child restraint for the child? So this is the sort of data we don't see from these figures. Also, you can see there's a lot of countries weren't gathering that data when we did our report. So then we are missing the data from them. It's also important to say, obviously, we can't compare the data here across the countries because they have different measuring systems, different age groups, different child restraint systems that they're looking at. So that's also important to say. So I mentioned that we use our projects to try and advance policy. So looking at the data that we have, some of the recommendations that we make in our report to member states is, so we have this key performance indicator now at the European level on child occupants correctly restrained, but we believe there is also merit in gathering data on the proportion of child occupants who are killed without wearing a seatbelt or child restraint systems, and for those results to be shown separately. We also believe there is a merit in increasing the affordability of child restraints. They are mandatory, but they can be quite expensive. And there is the option of, within EU law, of putting a lower rate of VAT, value added tax, on them. So we really encourage member states to do this. And as I mentioned, make the rear-facing child streets mandatory for as long as possible. Next slide. In terms of the European Union, we would encourage them to adopt a separate target to reduce road deaths and serious injuries among children. We would also, as I mentioned before, this correct use of child restraint systems really needs extra effort to make sure that that they are being used correctly, because without correct use, the effectiveness really is much reduced. And we're talking today about consumer information. We agree that the setting up such a consumer information scheme would be important, but it is important, I think, that it is independent, and also that it is clear and simple for people to understand, and also perhaps looks at this issue of how easy is it to correctly install your child restraint system that you are buying. Is it going to be very difficult? So this is something that we would recommend. Next slide, please. Here's a short infographic that we have in our report with some of the key points that we found in the report. And on the last slide, I just have the website and the link to the report if you're interested in downloading it. As I say, there will be another one in September, but it was not ready, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. So indeed, there is a great deal of concern regarding whether roads users are using at all and whether they're using the correct child restraint device. So there were two questions actually that Jenny has posed about the correct use of child restraint devices. One, what's correctly installed in case of an accident? And second, was it the correct child restraint system? Here, I think rather than thinking only in terms of what the correct child restraint system for the age and for the size of the child, we should also start to thinking in terms of was it the correct child restraint device in terms of the safety parameters that it grants. So another issue regarding the safety parameters is also the affordability that has been mentioned. And indeed, this is something mandatory. This is something for instance, we don't think about seatbelts that are in the car, but child restraint device should be actually is the counterpart of seatbelts just for the children. And if we actually look at the data on the safety parameters of different child restraint devices and we compare them, we will see that the most expensive child restraint systems are not exactly the safest ones. So in this situation, we actually should also consider whether the consumers are granted the right to make an informed decision and whether they are not being, to a certain extent, misled in cases of marketing practices of something that should be first and foremost about safety. And now I would like to give the floor to Agata Boutanos from the European Enterprise Alliance, who will tell us a little bit more about this competition of safety and especially place the topic of child restraint devices in the difficult context of our region.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to thank Member of the European Parliament, Mr. Kosma Złotowski, for the invitation to take part in that important and very timely discussion about the children's safety. My name is Agata Boutanos. I represent European Enterprise Alliance. It's an alliance of employers, organizations, and the business from Central and Southeastern Europe, gathering at the moment members from 7 countries. We are a new voice of CEE and SEE, countries, employers, and entrepreneurs in Europe, supporting freedom of services and fair competition. The map shows our members by countries. Our aim is to support the creation of European regulatory and market conditions, promoting interests of the full spectrum of enterprises, ranging from SMEs to large companies from CEE/CC region. We are active to ensure an equal playing field and a transparent business environment to enable companies to compete with other European and global players. Next one, please. Hence, our focus is single market, freedom of services, fair competition, and better regulation, all key to today's discussion. Yes, next one, thank you. We heard a bit today about the CRS and the data, where we are. So let's dive in then to our region, which is Central and Southeastern Europe. But before we talk about our region, it's important to say that the globally analyses indicate that the improvement related to road safety actually happens regionally. Nearly 93% of traffic fatalities occur in low and middle income countries, where approximately 60% of all registered cars are being used. Hence, this finding actually highlights the importance of the differences between regions when it comes to car safety and the traffic safety. And those differences actually also apply when it comes to European countries. Therefore, while socioeconomic factors are very important in the traffic safety, there are other factors in which regional differences are seen. As indicated by the Eurostat, and this is what you can see in the screen at the moment, the latest data were extracted in 2018, and unfortunately, no update is scheduled according to the website. Hence, I very much look forward to the report that Ms. Jenny Carlson was mentioning to be published in September to see how the situation was changing. Next one, please. If you look at the map and compare it to the one that you see about the 7 countries that we are representing when it comes to the organizations, so you're looking at Central and Southeastern Europe, you can see the differences between the regions in the fatality of the road accidents. The number of road fatalities per million inhabitants in the EU was 50 in 2016. It's a rate. If you look at the particular countries, Sweden and the United Kingdom back then had a rate of 27, but then Bulgaria 99 and Romania 97, which are the highest rates, and they are in the region. Therefore, region requires immediate attention and measures. The total number of fatalities in road traffic accidents decreased between 2001 and 2016 in the EU. However, it still stays at a very high level in the region. In general, improvements in the passive and active safety of new passenger cars have a positive effect on the reduction of road traffic accidents victims, as we see in the Eurostat information. Informatively, child restraint systems have a great potential for the child safety improvements to come. The next one, please. In the slide, you actually see the number of persons killed, numbers of persons, not children, in the accidents per million inhabitants, so the data I was just mentioning. Hence, the governments in every country have made attempts to encourage road safety, and road users' perceptions of these attempts are crucial to understanding community needs and also applying effectively road safety initiatives. The main findings suggest that all road users evaluate environmental characteristics of the region very differently. Hence, in order to make informative choices, we do need to base our choices on transparent and easy, accessible, publicly available data on child restraint systems that could actually make the difference in the region, but as Ms. Kurek was mentioning, also in the European Union, and hopefully broadly leading by examples globally. Next one, please. We heard today about the French presidency of the Council of the European Union initiatives when it comes to children's safety. We welcome the attention given to children's safety and the Member States, European Commission and the European Parliament efforts and pursuing work for last several years that culminated in the adoption of a recommendation by the Commission establishing the European Child Guarantee in June 2021. What is important is that this guarantee pays particular attention to the most delicate periods of childhood and to the most fragile groups. It is a unique opportunity from our perspective to continue valuable initiatives started by the French presidency through the upcoming Czech and Swedish presidencies, making a real impact on children's safety. Next one, please. World Health Organization outlines that in order to reduce the enormous number of children deaths and injuries in car crashes, researchers from research and development departments in companies, but also scientists from the scientific facilities should be developing different technologies to increase children's safety in vehicles, a real innovation. A significant number of children are saved by airbags, by seat belts, by child seats, by car seat belts, child restraint systems in general in different forms, but also additional devices for passive protection. In order to make informative choice again about CRS, the test results or analysis of child restraint systems parameters should be publicly available. And here what is very important, a complete analysis and complete sets of the parameters, which would be the videos from testing the CRS device, but also the reading of the parameters from the dynamic tests that we popularly would see in the media called the crash tests. Those only those combined together would actually allow to assess the device performers rather than the options that we read now at the moment, which is a Mac holder or a Bluetooth. Having said that, we call organizations and companies to compete on providing highest safety parameters instead of marketing. Making CRS safety test results public would increase the competition between commercial companies on making their products safer. European Union is a front runner of many global initiatives and policies. It is time we also take the lead on children's safety. Next one, please. To summarize our input for today's discussion, CEE region and SEE region road accident fatalities continue to be the highest in the European Union member states. EU globally leads by example in many areas. It's time that we take the lead in children's safety. Transparency and easy access to information as integral part of better regulation for the EU is crucial. And for the moment, it is not the case for the child restraint systems. As entrepreneurs and business representatives, we would like to call all organizations and companies to compete providing best safety measures, providing highest safety parameters, and not just focus on its marketing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I would like to ask Attorney at Law Bartłomiej Witucki and Witucki and Safian to Safian and Witucki, my sincere apologies. So
Thank you
please.
very much. First of all, let me thank distinguished member Kosma-Lutowski. It's great that we can be here. But I would like also to thank all the people involved in the organization, including you, including Agata, Dr. Korek. Thank you very much. It's really great that I can be here. And before I would propose to give you a little bit broader overview on the topics which we discussed today. I would like to wish you all the best because it's our day. We are the children. And I can see that you smile, so that's a good sign that you also agree with the final conclusions of my short presentation. So I was requested, I still consider myself as a modest person, but I was requested to give some feedback who I am and why I'm here. So I graduated from the University of Gdańsk at the Faculty of International Public Law, and then post-graduated from the University of Warsaw on IP law. As you mentioned, I'm an attorney at law admitted to Polish bar, and since 5 years, I'm a partner at Safian Witucki Law Office based in Warsaw. However, I'm practicing, I must say, long time, almost 20 years. I also mentioned that I'm a registered lobbyist. I think that it's worth to mention that my experience in the lobbying efforts is quite remarkable because I have worked as a contracted representative of business, the Software Alliance based in Washington. I worked for the biggest software vendors, including such companies which all of you know, like Microsoft, Intel, IBM, Oracle, and many, many others. And I was involved, and I think worth to mention into the works on a commerce law. Actually, we then discuss the topic of its spelling error over there, notice and takedown procedure, and of course, copyright law is my key specialty. So, if I'm supposed to speak about key areas of my practice, it's IP law, unfair competition, international public law, legislation, and litigation. But why I'm here, why we're speaking about children's safety? Because a part of these key areas, I'm also involved into child interest or welfare of child. And now we have next slide. So I would like to get back to, actually, I would like to get back to, okay, previous, yes. When it started, when people started to speak about child interest, about welfare of child. So it turned out that we can say that that's the Geneva Declaration, League of Nations in 1924. But by looking into court judgment, it turned out that for the first time, Judge Benjamin Cardozo, in the case Finlay against Finlay, he indicated child interest as a criterion of judging. And then, you know, this declaration of the League of Nations was developed and extended into Convention on the Rights of the Child. And I think that it's worth to mention about that because it shows that this is a very special act of international public law. It's signed by the largest number of countries, 196. So therefore, I would say that while speaking about child's interest, we can speak about not only its fundamental position in international public law, but also as a foundation of our civilization. So this is confirmation that we put highest priority for children's safety. Children are definitely the weakest individuals, the weakest members of society. And consumers are weaker participants of economic turnover. Therefore, I think that we need to think about special measures of protection of these weaker participants of our society. And that's why I would like to say that I'm impressed that European Union thinks about extending protection of the consumers. I really welcome the initiative of New Deal for Consumers and in particular Omnibus Directive, because among others, it's against false opinions on products. And I hope that the timeline which was scheduled, May 28th, will be kept by the EU members. While speaking about false information, I must also mention about the truth. What is the role of the truth in our society? I think that everybody knows this question, quid est veritas? And I think that the question which Pilatus was supposed to ask is also important and is also current in our times because of big data, because of commerce and social media. And let me share also with two conclusions of the scientific conference which I had a pleasure and honor not only to attend, but also support Truth in Civil Proceeding. That was a very special conference held in at the University of Radom because it was attended by amazing number of judges of the Supreme Court and professors of law. I can't remember any other conference. And actually, it turned out that this conference brought two, so let's say, obvious conclusions. Truth remains a natural and inseparable connection with justice. Truth is also a value of a fair trial. I'm mentioning about that because this word, fair, rule, will be mentioned a few times. And therefore, consumers need to be provided with a true, credible information. Innovation, another slide. It's obvious that innovations make our life easier, safer, cheaper. They are supposed to modernize or replace product or service which we know. They are useful in each industry. They drive the growth of business. These words are so obvious. Even we know that sometimes we need to pay some price for enjoying innovation. Of course, it's our personal data, it's our privacy. And the question is, can innovation increase safety of children's transportation? It seems to be very simple to answer. Of course. Next slide, please. JRSP, the working group which develops all amendments to the regulations which are connected with child restraint systems, in December 2019, agreed. I will read it. This regulation explicitly forbids any child restraint systems in the form of belt guides and other sitting devices that are dangerous and can harm children in the event of a vehicle collision, irrespective of any test results obtained in accordance to paragraph 8. How to read that? So no matter what test results, what information test results bring, it doesn't matter. We want to forbid any child restraint system, no matter what test results information will bring. Even, this amendment was not adopted into mega decision, and it was not, adopted in any way. I think that it's worth to mention about that because it's really dangerous. It's really dangerous, and actually that was the reason I was involved as a lawyer, because it was really, really very annoying. So I don't want to share some very decided conclusions with you. I would like to ask you some questions, and all of you can answer on your own. Is it possible to exclude test results in the area where testing is so important, is of a crucial meaning? Answer on your own. Does such approach is not an innovation blocker? Answer on your own. Is it fair that the meetings of JRSP are being attended by leading producers of child restraint systems? Please answer on your own. Is it fair that those producers know about directions of amendments of UN regulations before their competitors? Isn't it a competitive advantage? Please answer on your own. Is it fair that the competitors of leading producers have no access to JRSP meetings? And finally, should any producer of CRS attend the GRSP's meeting? Actually, I can't answer this last question. I have mixed feeling. When in Poland, the law on lobbying was adopted, as a representative of software industry, I decided to register. And then I can remember that I was really upset that I'm not allowed to attend the meetings of subcommissions at the parliament, Polish parliament. It was clear that subcommission is actually setting up the law, and this is the most important part of this legislative work. Then I realized that it makes sense. I can attend the meetings of commission, but subcommission where, everybody is working on details, nobody like lobbyists should attend it. So the last slide is, I let myself to share some conclusions with you. First of all, I must say that I fully share the conclusions which Dr. Kurek presented at the end of her presentation. So I say yes for Vision Zero. It's a great initiative. It's difficult to find any problem with that initiative. And so finally, I would like also yes for the initiative of European Union. Omnibus Directive, as targeted against false and misleading information, which means against manipulation often. So if I suppose to draft conclusions, I would say that publicly available CRS safety test results are not only demanded to provide the consumers with credible information as a source of making a proper purchase decision. It was mentioned today a few times, but also to provide access to data which could be useful for research and development, and in consequence, to spur innovations. Because I'm very certain that innovations can improve safety of children's transportation. And I think that now the law is blocking sparring of innovation. That's why clear and transparent rules of lawmaking in the scope of UN regulations are essential to protect consumer rights and also fair competition balance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I think this thought at the end that the regulations are blocking the innovation, and with the access to data, I think there is a great parallel that we can see with the digital regulations that are currently negotiated at the EU level. So the aim of, for instance, Data Act, Data Governance Act, to increase the access to data, to increase, to allow competition and to allow innovation. And we can see that we have currently, the agenda is focused on the online world, but there is still areas of improvement that we can have in the offline world.
Let me add one sentence. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you have better technician information, but I think that the last innovation in the industry, in the market of child restraint system, was ISOFIX. It's middle of 90s.
Okay.
Nothing happened for 25 years. or even more?
Well, this is indeed very, very long time ago in terms of the pace of the products development that's happening now. Maybe just to also sum up briefly Bartek's points, so the transparency and better regulation. The EU's own better regulations principles are always calling to make decisions and based on evidence and data and to have informed policy. So this is definitely something that we would like to see more happening in the area of child restraint devices. And now I would like to give the floor to our last panelist, road safety journalists. I think the most specialist journalist we have in Poland on the topic, and also the editor-in-chief of BRD24 PL. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this event, where I can say something mainly from different perspective, because I'm writing about road safety over 10 years in Poland. And of course, I write about numbers. We all write about numbers, talk about numbers. So many deaths in the air, so many road accidents, so many injuries. But I know very well that behind every number is a human story. There is a suffer, there is a death, there is a lack of happiness, there is a lack of parents, lack of child. Excuse me. And I see two issues in this topic of child road safety. One is data. We don't have data, good data from the road crashes. In last month, police from London, for the first time in history, checked the data from investigations after road accident and compared them with the data from police. Because in my country, and I think in all European Union countries, we know only data from police. They are first there, they judge in themselves who was guilty, what's happened. But the investigation, which ends in the court, give us a better understanding what's really happened and who was guilty and what's happened with maybe child restraint system. How we can make policy, plan policy in European Union, how to get the Vision Zero, new targets, what in this situation that we don't know what's happened really in accidents. So I think the first thing what we need to do is to make the rule for the all European Union countries to make this comparison data from the police and investigation. So we will know exactly what the problem is and how to solve it. Without this, how we can make a policy to reach the targets of Vision Zero, I don't know. And the second issue is 2 days ago, we had a crash in the center of Warsaw, and a small child fell out the window. I saw the photos from the accident. There was the child restraint systems with 5 belts. I miss the word. It has 5 pieces, point of ball, seat belt. And as a journalist, expert of road safety, I don't have any information. What's happened? What really happened? How it's possible to have the small child fell out by the window after accident? And any of us will know it's only after the investigation and on the court. But it's hard to get to this information. Now, in the second way, we have clearly information about the CSR, how they work. Are they good? Are they better? Some kind were better. Why we don't use this information? I don't know. We don't have information from accident. We get information from producers. And this is my second opinion. We need to rule to make that producers must show us the test result of crash test, because it's important for us to know which CSR is better for my child. And I would like to write about it for the people, and I need to have true information, not from the producer, not from the influencer on the internet, not from the websites. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So now that was our last speaker. If we have any questions, yes, please. Take the floor, please. If you could state your name also, that would be lovely.
Booming voice. My name is Jens Carlsen. I'm a lawyer. Oh, no, it works. Oh, right. Okay. So sorry. Shall I repeat what I just said? Yeah, well, right. The online participants don't hear me. That's true. So my name is Jens Carsten. I'm a lawyer. I'm a consumer lawyer. I do also food law, which I believe earns me the entry ticket into this room. On a personal note, I was hit by a car as a 8-year-old. Was repaired by the doctors, but it was a critical situation. So I have bad personal memory. But as a lawyer and as somebody who works in Brussels, I have perhaps 2 observations to share. Thank you to the panelists for this interesting introductions, and also to the honorable member who introduced us. I look at the agenda and I see that representatives of the European Commission were invited but didn't come. I also read the written question you tabled and the answer of the Commission, which basically says, the Commission says that no, we don't want to provide this information. The consumer organizations are doing the job. You explained where the information possibly comes from the internet and publicly available sources. What I find, the question that pops up in my mind, why is the Commission refusing to act? Yeah, they show a lack of interest. I would like to hear from them why they see the need to do nothing. It was mentioned, many of these devices are produced in China. Is it to avoid sort of a trade issue with Chinese or other exporters? Is it because there are lack of simply resources in the European Parliament? There are other priorities. I don't know. It appears such a straightforward case that is presented here, but the answer is no, we outsource that to the consumer organizations, which is a bit surprising. The answer could also be it's too onerous. We don't want to overload the consumer with information. The consumer cannot digest this information. I mean, this could at least be discussed, contradicted, but put on the table. No, there's no reactivity, and I think it would be worthwhile to find out. The other thing is, and this is sort of a political also observation. Now, I'm not an expert on road safety law, but I do European affairs, and what I definitely noticed, what everybody noticed in this room, is that the United Nations Economic Commission of Europe is a crucial governance element to road safety law, right? If you read systematically the official journal, when it comes to road safety, when it comes to car safety, about indicators, about brakes, this is all coming from Geneva, actually, not from Brussels, from Geneva, and actually just adopted or endorsed by the Commission and by the EU institutions. I don't criticize that. It's just a clear observation that the rules are made in Geneva and not in Brussels. Now, I heard you, honourable member, making the observation that the report that the European Parliament adopted in last year for 7 months wasn't forwarded to Geneva. There is apparently no formal information notice or to the United Nations Economic Commission of Europe that the European Parliament has certain views. It's an interesting vehicle, this UNECE, because it's actually the offshoot of the Marshall Plan, of the post-war Marshall Plan. It is also larger than the EU. It extends to Ukraine and to Central Asia. I was just on the website while the discussion was going on, so it's in governance terms an interesting thing. The European Parliament might ask itself how to, if the objective is zero, zero vision was it? No, 2050, no fatal road accident. Very good, but if that is the objective beyond this topic, this specific topic, then perhaps the EP should find ways to reach out to the UNECE. Yeah, certainly not the most important government structure in Europe, but when it comes to road safety, perhaps it is. So I think this might be a lesson. So in governance terms, how to talk to the guys in Geneva. They work in working groups. They have several bodies that you probably know. I'm personally inexperienced to reach out to them, but one can learn. That is, I think, a question one should ask. I mean, it's scandalous that the report is not formally notified. I think perhaps the Commission needs a little reminder, and they should explain themselves why they're inactive. Sorry for this long intervention.
Hello, thank you very much. And indeed, I think we all agree here that it's very peculiar that with the Consumer New Deal, with the Omnibus Directive that is changing a lot, and with the push for the General Product Safety Regulation, we are pushing to increase safety both online, offline, and not to mention the safety online with all the content online with the DSA. And here we still are looking at a gap. And the most, kind of like, even to an extent of like this horrifying, fascinating thing is like, why there is no interest. So if we have, okay, Katarzyna, please.
Yes, thank you. If I can continue this very important point, and thanks so much for hearing to the debate and for analyzing what has been said. Regarding the Geneva, we as me representing the European Initiative on Children Road Transportation, we were in touch with Geneva, with the Global Safety Road Partnership, if I'm not mixing the sentences. And we're supposed to have a person representing this office, but unfortunately, something immediate came, and it actually took over this invitation, which we regret. However, they do recognize this problem, and they were very friendly towards us and introducing to the point to the problem of lack of information, and actually the set of research which I've shown you. And it's very clearly said from the compilation of the research, devices being sold, they do not meet the requirement, or they fail on some requirements. And they say, we are aware of it, but we have a bigger problem, which is actually the use. This is what Ms. Carson was saying. People either misuse or do not use at all. So this takes the first political priority of the Geneva people. And it's fine. I can understand the lack of interest there, but I'm afraid the lack of interest extends to one of the conclusions of Mr. Witucki, which is that subgroups of the working groups, the subgroups where actually producers enter and they take a legitimate voice there. So we have this marriage, this relationship between the policymakers on the global level which, as you have very well observed, they guide European Union institutions further, because the EU directive, which I've been showing, the EU directive from 2014, it actually follows exactly the UN regulations 129 and 4404. So they base, of course, they are not specialists in the DG Grow, DG Move, the other DGs, which, I mean, they are specialists, but they're not as technical specialists as the people setting core regulations in Geneva. But then the question actually, the unanswered questions of Mr. Witucki becomes even more unanswered, and it actually, your comment is fitting there. The lack of interest may not be lack of interest, but an intentional cutting on interest to not interfere with the producers group. So our role here is actually to voice the consumers, the users, right? We have to have a right to use it, and actually a pressure makes sense. Look what is happening with the car industry. Of course, I'm not going to name the CO2 problems, but there were a lot of cars having a lot of cars failing test results, and the pressure of consumers, pressure of press. So I'm very happy to have a journalist here. We specialize in the road safety topics. Pressure from the society is actually making that change, and it has to push back a little bit the political interest, but also the market interest. And to continue on the point of the, as you have said, is Commission interested enough? We are here, actually the message which is coming from all of us, we are not causing any work to Commission. We don't ask you develop, I don't know what, prepare huge reports. Start using what is already there. They are international transparent safety results from which all homologation authorities have to they have to conduct for the devices. Start using them. All the consumers directive, all the road safety documents which are enhancing fairness and transparency of the documentation is there. We don't ask them to make it, we ask them to execute. So if I may voice it, please don't let the paragraph 27 from the report die. Please don't let it be lost somewhere. Please let's keep it in mind to be translated into road safety, into Vision Zero document, but also into retranslated into a consumer directive, and especially the general product safety directive refit, which is happening now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If we don't have any further questions, I would like to finish our discussion with an appeal. And
I just want to
okay,
say
one more.
thank you for your remarks. I really appreciate it. However, as you know, as lawyers, sometimes we can only ask the questions.
Okay, so just to briefly sum up, I think everyone here in this room can agree with an appeal for to extend the EU's main goals and principles to increase transparency, to enable access to data, to enable innovation and competition, and to increase safety and empower consumers to this very specific market of child restraint devices, yet so specific and yet so important since it relates to children's safety. So thank you very much for your kind participation and attention throughout this debate.
And one remark. Thank you very much for your presence, for taking part here in this debate and also online. I think, well, the only thing to say is that there is plenty of work on this area of children's safety in the road. But, and one remark more, if the European Parliament adopts the Fit for 55, the traffic will be reduced so the Vision Zero could be in few years. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your presence.